Good evening everyone and welcome on board our flight tonight from Toulouse up to Lille, an airport which I have not visited before in any simulator, so always look forward to flying somewhere new, somewhere different, and a few of you of course flying alongside me as well for good measure, so that's always nice. I just want to say right off the bat at the start of this, I'm trying something a little bit different with my screening setup tonight. So if something goes wrong with the stream halfway through, I've got a backup all prepared so I can revert. Yeah, basically I just want to be able to bring things in quite nicely, such as we've got Navigraph up here as well. We can also bring in our operational flight plan, and also we've got the takeoff performance. So hopefully now I can start to show you how I'm going through these things in a little bit more detail, but I am trialing this out, so please do bear with me if things go wrong. FS or however you want me to pronounce that, of course you can ask a question in about the A320. So good evening to everyone that is watching the screen, and we'll just get rid of that for now. We've got quite a lot of air traffic control around tonight. Sadly, none of it here in Bordeaux, so I think we're on our own for the time being. But well, never mind. It means we'll probably just be able to get out of here a little quicker. So, here is custom scenery for Toulouse, looking very nice, as you can see. And this is available for free on FlightSim.to. Just looking at those clouds behind us there, that looks a little bit strange. Are they low-level clouds or a little bit of mist coming in? Fair enough. Ceiling and visibility weather is okay here anyway, as you can see. And unlike the last flight, we do actually have live weather. Obviously not live time, as you can tell. It is actually dark in Toulouse in the real world, but just for the sake of the stream, we've altered the time so that you can enjoy the beautiful scenery that Microsoft Flight Simulator has to offer. Okay, Baddings, what would you say is the least demanding region? In what sense? FFS AS. So when I taxi with the A320, it seems to veer to the right and doesn't maintain a straight line. Jai, you can resolve this. That sounds either like asymmetric thrust in your engines, make sure they're spooling up at the same time, or a sensitivity setting. Also make sure that your trim hasn't been, for your rudder, is still set to 0.0, and you can set that down here, although I've not powered on yet, but make sure that displays 0.0. Other than that, it may just be a config setting, so do go into your settings and check that out. Nick, what time do I have set? Very good question. I believe it is 17:13 in the sim. As you can see, I've not even fired anything up yet. But let's just have a look at what the, as we've no air traffic control online, we've no ATIS, let's have a look at what the METAR here is. So let's just bring this in. So the METAR here, Lima Fox Bravo Oscar, grab the METAR. So there you can see the current METAR. Ceiling and visibility okay, 11 degrees, 1026 is the QNH 1026. And I can also just pop that in the chat as well for you guys to see that as and when you need to there. So that's now there. Let's get rid of that for a moment. Alright, so let's start setting up. So, hi Fusion, Yankee Tango, hello, please don't spam the chat though. Let's set up. So, get the batteries on, and we'll also contact air traffic control and get some ground services. And power supply. There we go.
Echo Zulu Golf Sierra, could you please send a ground power unit?
Airbus Golf. Echo Zulu Golf Sierra, ground power unit is on the road.
Okay, so we can now connect the ground power unit. We'll hear everything clicking away, relays starting. And we can also get them to start bringing the baggage as well. Get that baggage service in.
Airbus Golf. Echo Zulu Golf Sierra, could you please send the baggage?
And we'd quite like some food as well, I guess. Some drinks on tonight's flight, so we'll get some catering service in as well.
Zulu Golf Sierra, could you please send the catering truck?
Airbus Golf. Echo Zulu Golf Sierra, the catering truck is on the road.
Okay. So, I'm going to, before I go any further, come down here and make sure we can connect the simulator to SimBrief so we can import the flight plan. So, onto the A2 menu, AOC, init press, let's just clear the scratch pad, init data request, let's check that all pulls through. Toulouse to Lille, 1 hour 60 minutes. This is actually a real world flight as well today, guys, so you're going to enjoy this. The call sign for the flight tonight, Alpine 497 Yankee. How many beers do you think I'll owe by calling Easyjet 497 Yankee? I've actually got it written in big letters in front of me, because there's always a chance of getting that wrong. Okay, so that's pulled in. Let's have a look then at what our weights and things are for the flight. So, hopefully you guys can all see that now. Let's go back to our AOC menu. And well, you will be able to see that, but every time I click on the simulator it disappears. However, let me then, just for ease, if you guys want to have a look, there is the operational flight plan for this evening. Right, so performance weights and balance page. We're going to have to get rid of that. So performance weights and balance, we've got a block fuel of 4804, and that matches up 4804, so let's get that loaded in. So our fuel is now loaded, and our passengers, who will start to bring on board in a moment, 165 passengers with a payload in the flight plan of 17160, and that matches up as well. The zero fuel weight is 58.2, and if we just have a look at that, there's our payload, and the zero fuel weight matches up at 58.16, so rounded up 58.2. So happy with all of that. There we go. Simulation Nation, if you're talking about the banner at the top, which has all the stats in, that is from Flight Live Studio. You can't get that in the simulator. It is purely only for streaming. It's a streaming tool, so I actually can't see that. Only you guys can see that. Okay, so let's get that loaded in. The next thing we'll check then is have a look at our gross weight. Let me just turn up those panels on the eCam. They're a little bit dark. So there we go. So the gross weight, as you can see there, is 62.9 tons, and we've got a takeoff weight shown here of 62.7 tons. So I'm actually just going to copy that value and pop it into our takeoff calculation figures over here for later. So we've got that. There we go. Jariv, yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I've just said. Well done, mate. I'm giving dictation. Alright, so now that's all loaded in, the fuel's loaded, we put the passenger weights in. Let's have a look at actually getting our passengers boarded, and our refueling is now done. There's the jetway. We'll also turn the fly pad on as well. So we'll start self-loading cargo, doing the thing, and we'll tell our passengers to start getting on board, shall we? All 100 and, what was it, 160 odd of them.
Cabin crew, we can open the doors now and start letting them on board. Thanks very much.
Naval Aviator, thank you very much. Hope they're useful for you. Okay, so let's continue with the cockpit setup. We've already got the ideas aligning. Turn the crew oxygen on. We can also now pop the navigation lights on. Refueling is finished, so we can pop the seatbelt signs on, and of course the no smoking on the emergency lights. As refueling is finished, we can also turn on the fuel pumps. And ordinarily there are some restrictions here with the APU here at Toulouse, just for noise reasons really, but because of COVID we can now get rid of those, and airports are just saying get the APU in. We want air flowing around the cabin as much as we can really. So it's been more than 3 seconds. Let's press the APU starter. and that will fire as and when. What we should have done before that, of course, is the APU fire check, but let's presume it's a stopover flight, so we don't need to run the fire checks on this particular leg. Alright, so let's turn up the standby instrument, and so that time then, I think it was Nick that was asking me about the time. I've got 16:20 here in the simulator, 16:20. Okay, so just come down to the pedestal and check the audio control panel is all set, all the switching levers are normal, thrust lever is where it's supposed to be, flaps lever as well, and transponder is now set. Turning that should not turn the transponder on, so there's a bug in the simulator. Let's turn that back to standby, shall we? Radio management panel is all fine, so let's come to the glare shield then. So the QNH is 1026, which we need to set in both standby and of course the FMC. 1026 and 1026 FCU I meant there. Flight directors turning on, both right and left, and we'll turn up the brightness of this panel as well. Our initial climb out, you'll see in a moment when I bring the Navigraph charts in, is 7,000 feet, so I'm just setting that now as I've already seen that. Let's come down and look at our instrument panel. Let's turn these up, and our IRS alignment should be finished in about 1 minute. Let's turn the first officer displays down. Again, as you know now, that saves frame rates, so a really useful tool if, like me, you're not on the strongest computer system. So anything we can do to reclaim some frame rates, we'll go for it. Let's come now and start setting up the FMGC. Let's have a look at our aircraft. We know that at the moment the aircraft status, we're using out-of-date AirAct cycle. Microsoft should update that. Is it next week? I don't know. They've said they're going to release a hot fix now, haven't they? They're going to delay the France update, the next the next SIM update, and release a hot fix for this flap issue that we've got. So we'll see when that comes out. So nothing we can do about that. So let's move on to our init A. This is where we start to actually upload the flight plan into the, or rather download the flight plan into our aircraft. So just clear that scratch pad. GPS primary flashing up there, letting us know that our ideas are now all aligned. So let's press the init request button, and here it is. Okay, so our alternate for this evening is, we can just check that here. The alternate is Charles de Gaulle, Lima Fox Papa Golf. So let's pop that in. Lima Fox and Papa Golf. There we go. And our flight number, why is that not going in? There we go. Our flight number, let's change that to Alpine 497 Yankee, which is Easyjet Europe 497 Yankee. If anyone wants to get on flight radar, you'll probably actually find that flight. In fact, it should have landed about half an hour ago, I think. Sorry, no, about an hour ago in the real world. Cost index today of 8 as per usual, and cruising altitude with flight level 340 and minus 50 degrees. We can double check that. 340, it's actually minus 54, so we can go in and change that as well to minus 54. There we go. Let me just double check the tropopause height as well. 36480. Actually, that's pretty close, so I'm happy to leave that for the simulator. So that's good. Let's come down now. We can check our IRS alignment positions. So these are the coordinates that the aircraft believe us to be. Now, in order to check these, this is where we grab hold of Navigraph and have a look at our charts for Toulouse. Let me just make this a little bit bigger so I can see which chart it is I'm trying to find. We want the parking stands and the coordinates, which would be just here. So I'm parked at Actually, I'm parked at none of those. Oh, they're down here, look. So, we are parked, I believe it's stand Echo 30. So if we double check that, there we can just see Echo 30 should be 43377. We've got 4337.2, and east is 001225, 001223. So not far off, but in the simulator you're going to find some discrepancies on those. But it's just a good check to make sure you're where you think you are, really. All right, let's continue now and move on to have a look at the flight plan. So, flight plan page. We're going to be departing on runway 23 right here at Toulouse. Runway 23 right. And it is the Fisto 5 Quebec departure. Fisto 5 Quebec there, that is. Insert. And then our arrival this evening, let's have a look at our flight plan. Where's it gone? So the arrival this evening is to runway 08 in Lille, and it is the Sulex 5 Charlie. So Sulex 5 Charlie arrival. Let's pop that in. So ILS. Actually, is there no ILS for runway 8? Oh, excellent. That means we've got an RNAV approach tonight then, ladies and gentlemen. So, RNAV Zulu. And the star is the Sulex 5 Charlie. Let's hope that's in here. Oh, there it is. Sulex 5 Charlie. Via Ernard. Insert. We'll check what that looks like in the flight plan in a moment, just to make sure that we're happy with how that's all going. Nick, yeah, your favourite. I promise I didn't know that was an RNAV arrival until just now. So, apologies for that. We can talk about RNAV arrivals as well as we're going through the flight, because they don't always work, so we might have to botch it a little bit, just in case that that happens. Let's hope for good weather, shall we, when we get to Lille, if someone wants to be checking the current METAR for that. All right, let's continue. So, once that's all inserted, back to the flight plan. Distance of 465, and on our operational flight plan we have a distance of 461. So 4 miles difference. I'm more than happy with that here in the simulator. That's pretty close, isn't it? Okay, so there's the flight plan sorted. So onto our radio and navigation page. So all we need to have a look at in this is have a look. There is our standard instrument departure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the Toulouse VOR in there, just in case anything happened. We had to use raw data. It's nice to have something to refer back to. And I'm old school as well. Growing up flying Cessnas, I like to know where my VORs are so I can track them if I need to. So Tango Oscar Uniform, we can pop that in there. Tango Oscar Uniform, and that should then flash up 4 miles away. For those of you that remember when we arrived here the other night, the Toulouse VOR is not actually situated on the airfield. It's a little bit north of the airfield, as you can see if I just zoom in there. So you can see here's obviously the runways, and then the VOR is on the outbound track. So there's our radio navigation setup. Let's now have a look at our init B page. Okay, so the zero fuel weight, let's bring the flight plan back in. Zero fuel weight is 58.2, so 58.2, and just a standard center of gravity. Zero fuel center of gravity is now put in. So our trip wind for the flight today is a headwind of 14. Okay, so once that's all in, now we can go ahead and press the fuel planning page. What we are expecting to find is something similar to about 4.8 tons. Let's have a look at that. So that suggested 4.5. If we're taking 4.8, we're obviously burning some with APU, so we can now key in 4.7. I'm happy that that matches up. So we can key that in. We're actually taking 4.7, not 4.5, so we enter that just here. And then we can just confirm that takeoff weight of 62.8 tons. That's our expected takeoff weight, and what we put into the takeoff performance calculator, 62 point, we can change that, 62.8 tons. There we go. Okay, so that all looks good, and the fuel prediction page tells us we should arrive in Lille with 1.8 tons of fuel on board. So that's good. We can now, let's now move on to the takeoff performance page. Alright, so the transition altitude then here at Toulouse we can get again from the chart. So this is the standard instrument departure. Transition altitude is 5,000 feet. Let's pop that in. It is a normal noise abatement 2 departure, so thrust reduction and thrust acceleration altitudes both the same. Flaps 1 for takeoff. And now we need to calculate the flex takeoff temperature, or if we can even perform a flex takeoff temperature. That's where this comes in useful. So if you've not seen this before, guys, let me just pop this link into the chat for you. For those of you that have followed the tutorial videos through, then you will have seen that before. But this is how I get all the calculations done for flex temp takeoffs and things like that. So we've already typed in the information. Let's just get the latest METAR. There it is. I don't think that will have changed too much. No, QNH is still exactly the same. Let's, we've already got our takeoff weight in there. We're going to be departing, as I say, it's runway 32 right. We are using the full length of our runway today. I think just reading through the charts before the flight, you have to use the full length here at Toulouse. There's no other holding points. So takeoff runway available 3025. If we wanted to, we can actually check that that is the case. Runway 3025. Where's it gone? So there you go. Runway available 3025. There's no displaced thresholds or anything like that. So that matches up quite nicely as we would expect it to. And then once we've put all those figures in, we can press calculate. And that comes up with our flex temp for the takeoff today of 67 degrees. So I can key that in. So 67 degrees for the takeoff. Once all that's done, we can now calculate our V speeds. So simply click on it once, gives 134. Let's enter that. The rotate 130 and V1 is 129. And there's no speed restrictions or anything like that on our standard instrument departure. So let's just come back and have a look at that and talk about the takeoff briefing. So we're going to push back, and then we're going to taxi. Let's push back facing south. We'll taxi via Tango 41, 40, Papa 20, Papa 10, November 1. Hold short November 1. We then take off runway 32 right. And then the takeoff is nice and straightforward here. Once we pass an altitude of 1,500 feet, slight right-hand turn, and then we need to be above 5,000 feet by Bravo Oscar 322. Remember, our initial climb out is 7,000 feet, but the transition altitude is 5,000 feet. So once we've gone to thrust reduction and acceleration climbing out, we need to make sure that we remember to set our QNH to standard pressure. Alright, so other things to consider: the weather. We've already had a look at the weather. The weather is absolutely fine. The aircraft itself, as far as I'm aware, is absolutely fine. Our takeoff weight is well below the maximum landing weight, so if we needed to return, we'd just return here to Toulouse. Nice airport, great weather, good long runway. And not really any threats to be aware of. There's no big hillsides or terrain. Minimum safe altitude here at Toulouse is 3,000 feet. So quite happy with that. Christian, good evening. You're chilling at Terminal D playing with the drone until we fly away. Are you going to be waiting for us at Lille as well? Alright, so at this point we get our ATC clearance. I don't believe any ATC is online here. No, sadly no, it's not. But all the passengers are now on board, so we can close that main door. Tell the tug to start to get in position and get rid of the jetway. So before start checklist, cockpit preparation is completed. Our signs are on an auto. Oh, here comes the crew.
Excellent.
Okay, so our ideas are aligned and we're on nav. Fuel quantity is loaded and we're balanced. There we go. And flight management guidance system is all set, and the altimeter 1026 is set, and cross-check both sides. One thing I'm going to do now is I'm just going to have a quick look at that departure. So here we can see now on the navigation display, I believe now I've got this new streaming version set up. I can actually pop that out so you can see that. And if I now bring the Navigraph charts in as well, you'll see that that should match. So there's our departure straight out, and you'll see now this USR point matches when we start to, almost when we start to turn. Basically the USR point there, from the way I can gather it works in the simulator, is when you've basically got to make a user decision sort of thing. So at this point it's up to us when we pass flight level 1, pass altitude 1,500 feet. Well, that's going to happen pretty soon after takeoff, unless something goes drastically wrong. And then you can see we move towards Bravo Oscar 320, Bravo Oscar 322. And now if I turn on the constraints for that, those altitudes should probably match up. Let's just see if they do. There we go. So altitude 1,500, and then it actually says there, Bravo Oscar 322, we should be above 5,000 feet, as it does on the charts. So great to see that. Pretham, please don't spoil it, otherwise you'll be banned. Alright, so everything looks good. That looks to be coded in quite nicely. The only other thing I'm going to do then is let's come down here and see what the rest of the route looks like. So let's see what the RNAV for Nick looks like as we arrive in. Oh, that looks pretty straightforward, that, Nick. You might you might like this one. So we'll press Ekrik and hopefully come straight in. We'll get the charts for that during the flight, so don't worry about that. So I'm now happy that that is all coded. We've run the before start checklist to the line, and we're about ready to start pushing back. So we'll just welcome everyone on board and get the cabin to arm the doors as we get prepared for our pushback.
Cabin crew, please arm doors and cross-check.
Start the APU bleed.
Hello ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck. My name is Gavin and I'll be your pilot flying you today. We're currently on schedule for departure, so not expecting any further delays, and we'll be able to push back very shortly. The weather today is late calm, so we should be able to give you a nice, relaxing flight. The cabin crew will be delivering their safety briefing very shortly, so please give them your full attention. Once we're airborne, we'll turn the seatbelt signs off and release the cabin, but for now, please get yourselves comfortable with seatbelts securely fastened. Thank you for choosing Easyjet today, and we hope you enjoy your flight.
Alright, so we're about all ready to push back. Is the tug in position? No, he's not yet, but we can call that. What I do need to do now is, oh actually what I will do is we'll just link our we'll just link the fly pad to SimBrief. Just bear with me 1 second and get that sorted. So over to company, type that in, there we go. Back to the dashboard, link that and pull that information from SimBrief. There it is. So that's worked as it should do. And pretty soon, I think I've spoken about this before, we're going to have a takeoff performance and landing performance calculator on here, which I will do a tutorial on very soon. Very soon. It's a great new feature that we'll be able to add to our real world, real ops flights. Alright, so let me just tune on to Unicom 122.8, And I believe there was an aircraft that just pushed back a moment ago. Chances are they may be waiting for me to depart, so that's absolutely fine. We'll make an announcement in a moment. So we're now on Unicom. Let's just check my VPilot is working. It appears to be. 122.8. Let's make that call. So Toulouse ground traffic, Alpine 497 Yankee is pushing back from stand 50 facing south. I've said stand 50. I'm trying to see if that was from memory. That's complete lie. It's not stand 50.
Company Airbus A320. Could you confirm you have enough room for pushback? We might be able to push back just a little more for you.
Alpine 497 Yankee. Yeah, no, that looks absolutely fine. And just correction, we're actually pushing back from stand Echo 30. Okay, so that's looking good. Let's get the beacon light on. The tug position is in place, or is coming into place. I believe self-loading cargo have just started opening my doors again. Let's hope they get that sorted. There we go. Okay, so nose wheel steering is now disconnected. Start the elapsed time. Acupressure's looking good. Transponder onto auto. And parking brake is set. Thrust levers are at idle. And the before start checklist after the line. So windows and doors, let's just double check. They are all closed and armed. And a rotating beacon light is off. Parking brake is on while the tug connects. Nose wheel steering is disconnected. We can now start looking to push back. Alright, so let's release our parking brakes, lock the flight deck door. Parking brakes release and starting our push. So whilst we're pushing back, we can now look to begin the engine start. Is the mist rolling in? That's quite realistic, isn't it? Okay, so just check AP unit lead is on and engine mode selected to ignition and starting engine 1. That mist is starting to roll in, isn't it? Look at that. That's a nice
Radio
touch.
check. Yeah, 555.
Cloud Chaser, you finally got the flight sim. Great stuff. Pete, good evening everyone.
On behalf of the crew, I ask that you please direct your attention to the monitors as we review the emergency procedures. There are 6 emergency exits on the aircraft. Take a minute to
Much better having live weather operational, unlike yesterday.
behind you. Count the number of rows to be exit. Should the cabin exit
Christian, it is. It's really misty. It wasn't like this when we first spawned into the airport, but that mist has actually started to roll in whilst we've been sat here, so that's quite impressive. That's really impressive actually.
Make sure you put your own mask on first before helping others.
I think this tug driver is going to completely misalign me with the taxiway. Never mind.
Toulouse traffic, subject
Engine 1 by starting at
1495 is
2.
ready to start.
We ask that you make sure that all carry-on luggage is stowed away safely.
We might not actually be doing too bad.
While we wait for takeoff, please
Oh no, I'll give the tug driver his dues. That's not looking bad at
procedures
all.
on the card in the pocket in front of you. Thank you for your attention and we hope you enjoy the flight.
Generic Gamer, this is the pushback helper, again available free on flightsim.to. Okay, so our pushback is completed there. Let's pop the parking brakes back on. There we go. So now waiting just for engine 2 to stabilise. FS Guru, the model matching that I'm using, it's sort of one that I've made up myself just to use with around Europe. So it's only got a few of the most common airlines seen in Europe on, rather than having thousands and thousands in there. Stevie G! Oh, that's great news, yeah. Yeah, well, everybody needs a hobby. Oh, J-Hog, is it time? Are you off and on again? There must be something good on telly. Okay, engine 2 is now stabilized. So let's continue with our after start. So engine mode select to norm. APU bleed can come off. I'm going to have the ice on, actually. I wasn't, we had clear skies. However, I'm going to put anti-ice on. Now what this means is we now need to do a change in our performances. So, very quickly, as anti-ice is now going to be on, we now need to change this. So, anti-ice is now going to be on. Everything else has stayed the same. However, we're now going to calculate and check. So you can see now our flex temp has now changed to 65. Check the QNH is the same. So flex temp is now 65. So we need to go in and amend that now in our performance. So flex temp, performance change, 65. Okay. So now that's done. We've got our anti-ice on, APU master can come off, ground spoilers armed, check that our rudder trim is still 0.0 and flaps 1. Pitch trim, check the centre of gravity is, oh bang on, centre of gravity is 30. What a great load master we've had tonight. So let's set that bang on 30%. That's all set. Ecam status, check that. No warnings, everything looks good. We're now clear to disconnect. So let's send the tug driver on his way. There he goes. Goodbye, tug driver. After start checklist then. So anti-ice is on. Ecam status we've checked. Pitch trim is 30% and rudder trim is 0. I'm going to do a flight control check. So, full left, full right, neutral, full up, full down, neutral, rudder full right, rudder full left, neutral. Christian, I'm not sure actually. Don't think it affects the, because obviously the weight of the aircraft hasn't changed. However, you can go in and double check them if you wish. But these should be the same. There you go. So we have just done a double check on that. Okay, so after start checklist is complete. We're now ready to start the taxi. The pushback is clear. Let's get that taxi light on. And we can now remove the parking brakes. And we're clear to start taxiing as we'd planned. Toulouse traffic Alpine 497 Yankee taxiing now via Tango 41, Tango 40, Papa 20, Papa 10 to holding point November 1, runway 32 right.
Toulouse traffic Easyjet for taxiing to November 1 via Papa 50, November 4, Papa 20, November 2, November 1.
So whilst we're just rolling, we can now get our weather radars on.
Cuba 464 is going to taxi by
Quick brake test.
Tango
That's
50,
fine.
Papa 40, Papa 20, Papa 10.
Auto brake on.
To the hold November 1.
Ding our cabin crew. Nick, have you got the radio on in the background or am I hearing myself? We're going to ingest this fuel truck.
Traffic, Tomjet 1495, taxi via Tango 40, Papa 20, Papa 10, Audio November 1.
And we can now check the TL config. And I'm going to leave the train off for the departure. There's no problems with that. So let's just review our departure briefing then. Nothing really too much to worry about in terms of this departure. So our performance did change. We had to change the flex temp. We've been in, we've done that. QNH is still the same, however. Engine out procedure. If we had a problem, we'd be returning back here. The departure matches exactly the charts in the flight management guidance computer, and our stop altitude 7,000 feet, and we can double check that is as we would expect it to be, just there. So rolling all the way down now here to the end of the taxiway, where we should find holding point November 1. So just before we depart, if you would be so kind enough to hit the like button on the stream, that would be great. Thanks very much.
Cabin crew seats for takeoff, please.
Once again, it's a great freeware modded airport, this one, with all taxi signs looking accurate as well. So just keeping an eye on Unicom, that's level. We're not bothered about what's happening in Barcelona. We're far enough away from from Barcelona to worry about that. I really do love this rolling mist that's coming in. Is anyone near Toulouse in the chat at the moment? Is this accurate? Obviously, it's nighttime and not daytime, but I think that looks absolutely fantastic. Okay, so the before takeoff checklist to the line. Flight controls check, departure briefing confirmed, flap settings config 1, FMA and takeoff data 129 blue, 134 magenta, climb nav blue, 7000 blue, 1 FD2 and a flex temp of 65. So we'll just hold short of the stop line in a moment. We need to run a couple more checks, but then I think we're good to go. Sun is starting to set, so we may just put some lights on here in the flight deck. There we go. And I'll just turn up this one as well. Alf Mags, welcome to the First Officers Club. Thank you very much for joining the channel. Look forward to seeing you on many, many more flights. Okay, let's have a look at the brake temperatures. Nothing over those. So takeoff and line-up clearance we normally get from ATC, of course, but nothing in the skies that we can see, nothing on Unicom that we can hear, so the approach path looks clear. Let's get our lights on then, shall we? Let's just turn the overhead panel up. So strobe lights coming on, runway turn off lights on, landing lights coming on, nose lights on, packs off for departure, anti-ice is on. Let's run the before takeoff checklist below the line. So the cabin is secured for takeoff. Engine mode select is normal, TCAS to TARA, and the transponder wants to be on, tilt above, packs off, anti-ice off. Let's get ready for takeoff. Toulouse, ground Alpine 497 Yankee, lining up runway 32 right for takeoff to the north. Queue of traffic behind us. And I think I've said before, when and I'm a passenger on an aircraft, this is one of my favourite sights, sat in the window, just watching the aircraft lining up, knowing soon you're going to be thrown back into your seat. Okay, so aircraft is lined up. Alright, let's start the takeoff then. So takeoff, start the chrono, 50% N1, and then we'll set our flex temp takeoff power. Man flex, SRS and runway, auto thrust blue. 80 knots, start pulling the stick back to neutral.
100 knots.
V1 and rotate.
Positive red.
15 degrees.
Toulouse traffic, Easyjet so far,
Gear up.
on the runway 32 right.
A little bit windy as we departed there. I don't know if you guys could see that on the stream. But we were rocking a little bit. So now set climb thrust after lowering the nose 10 degrees. Climb thrust. We can now turn the packs back on. And this is where the flight directors don't always look convincing to me, as you can see, would want to lower the nose very, very low at the moment, and we're just holding that 10 degrees, tracking that departure route. Just check the wind, that's obviously blowing us over to the left, so that's keeping us on route a little bit there. Speed's looking good with this positive speed trend. So climb thrust, still climbing. Remember our stop altitude is 7,000 feet, so we're now going to go standard pressure. And we'll be making a sharper right hand turn in a moment. Not too sharp, you can just see we'll be following this line around here to the right. So we've no air traffic control online, which means really we could go above our stop altitude of flight level 070 if we wished.
Toulouse traffic, Easyjet so far on the runway 32 right.
I'm just going to lower that nose a little bit as we're starting to struggle a little bit to climb above S speed. Don't want to lower it too much. Engines just do feel a little bit as though they're under powerful there. There we go. So that's we've passed S speed, flap 0, ground spoilers disarmed, and I can lower the nose now to try and hold an altitude of flight level 070. Let's now imagine, of course, that air traffic control has cleared us up to, I don't know, we can say anything we want really, so altitude flight level 190, and we can now pop autopilot 1. So autopilot 1 engaged. Flight level 190 blue. Connor, a real Easyjet flight, or any other A320 flight for that matter, will be quite comfortable climbing at 4,000 feet per minute. So yeah, no problem with that. So we can tell the cabin crew they can start going about their business, get ready to serve you guys some drinks.
You may now use your electronic devices. Rechargeable battery packs are available for your smartphones and tablets at an additional super chats or super sticker cost.
Connor, yes, with passengers.
Please ask your cabin crew for more information.
Passing 10,000 feet. Lights off.
Toulouse traffic, Easyjet 4095, rolling, 32 right.
We actually had the strobes on auto there. We can pop those on properly.
Departing to A320.
So airport's now coming on the EFIS, and we'll just check our performance in progress. So we've got a cruise altitude set, flight level 340. There's our optimum and also our maximum. We can now actually, with no air traffic control restrictions in place, we can probably put that in. So flight level 340 selected and confirmed. Oh, thank you, Naval Aviator. Sadly, my eyesight prevents me from doing it for real. So we'll let the aircraft climb all the way to cruise, and then we'll start looking at the departure. The arrival, sorry. Departure seems to have gone well so far. And here's another reason that as much as the flight simulator looks great at night, and I actually truly think it does look splendid at night, far better than any other, I just keep getting bowled over by the visuals of this sim. The sun will be setting shortly though, so it may be much darker when we arrive. Stevie G, I've just seen the meta that you've just given us. Yeah, so ceiling visibility okay still. It was just nice to have that little bit of mist rolling across the airfield as we started to depart. Great stuff. Okay, so just whilst that's climbing then, let me just bring in the operational flight plan again. We can actually get rid of the takeoff performance calculator page, I don't need that anymore. So, are we expecting any great turbulence today? The maximum point of turbulence is actually around our top of climb, and if we look here, that's estimated to be about 18 minutes into the flight. So I wouldn't look at starting any sort of cabin service until after that, but realistically a shear rate 4.5, it's only slightly above. Anything above 4 you start to just take note of. So we'll wait till we reach our top of climb, which is between Périg and Foucault here on the flight plan. And we can actually scroll down to our significant weather charts as well down here and have a quick look. So there's our actual route from Simbrief, not the most direct route in the world, but there you are. Stevie G, can you be a pilot even if your sight is correct about glasses? Yes, you can, but not if too much correction is required. It's all about, it's essentially how blind you are. So let's just continue to come down here, and looking at this, there's absolutely no significant weather to be shown. Nice winds. There's our top of climb and top of descent, so no flight level changes today. So, remembering of course however that clear air turbulence is not always forecasted. So as you can see, we're 16 miles from Fisto, which, let me just scroll all the way back up there. So the shear rate was, where's that gone? It was 4.5, wasn't it? Shear rate at the top of climb, which is anywhere between Périg and Foucault, anywhere between those two waypoints. So we'll not get them to start serving you your alcoholic beverages just yet. Gary, sometimes that could be something to do with the download rate. Sometimes helps if you hit refresh in the YouTube browser. I'm showing a good link here and data being sent to you guys, so hopefully shouldn't be too distorted. Okay, so we've left behind all those clouds that were over Toulouse. We can get rid of the anti-ice. Turn those off. The shear rate isn't going to be very, very excessive, so I'm not expecting any great turbulence once we get near the top of the climb. So I'm now going to release the passengers, so you guys can start stretching your legs, go for a walk around.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned off the seatbelt sign, so you are free to move about the cabin. However, please note that we do recommend you fasten your seatbelts at all times when you are seated in case of turbulence. Thank you.
Steve, so you just tried to go direct to a waypoint and the flight plan disappeared. I think Nick on in the chat had something very similar the other day. I think Nick's probably departing behind me at the moment, so I don't know if he's free to chat, but perhaps he can tell you of your experience in a moment. But yeah. So I'm not sure about that, Steve, I'm afraid. Certainly not had a crash to desktop when trying to hit in it again. Then again, I wouldn't try and hit in it in the whilst in flight, because that's trying to pull in something from SimBrief, I think what I would have to do then is potentially type in the waypoints manually from that point. Alf Mags, I've converted you to using the Easyjet SimBrief flight plan. You were using the Lido, but yeah, that's fair enough. To be fair, the Lido confused me a little bit as well. I much prefer the Easyjet, but I think it's just because that's what I'm used to using, I guess. Yeah, so Gary, I hope that refresh works for you. Ian, is the live weather not working today? No, it is working. We've just got clear skies over Europe at the moment. In fact, if you just missed the takeoff, we took off and mist was rolling into the airfield as we were taking off, so that was quite nice. Fox York, this is Microsoft Flight Simulator. Lewis, what altitude do you reduce flaps whenever you pass S speed? So you'll have seen that on the primary flight display as we were taking off. Ollie, good evening. Great to see you on board again. Mad Pilot, you tried to plan a round the UK flight on the A320 at 5,000 feet. Perfectly planned through SimBrief, but it gives me an incorrect block fuel and temperature. How did you know it was incorrect block fuel and incorrect temperature? Bearing in mind that your block fuel can change, and there is a little bit of an issue at the moment. Make sure you've got the current Airbus 320 aircraft profile in SimBrief, otherwise you're using SimBrief's aircraft profile, which is very, very different to Microsoft Flight Simulator. You can actually download that on one of mine. Oh, hang on with me, we've got Eurocontrol West online, so we best contact 135250. 135, nice to have some control. 135250. There we go.
Easyjet 156 standby.
Eurocontrol Alpine 497 Yankee, passing flight level 390, requesting flight level 340.
Alpine 497 Yankee, very good evening, sir. Eurocontrol, platform 0601.
Squawk 0601, Alpine 497 Yankee.
Easyjet 156 identified, very welcome, sir.
Oops. Trying to pop in my flight plan there. My flight number there, that's no good to him.
Eurocontrol, very good evening, right now, 4212.
So we've got some air traffic control to listen to, this will be nice. Mad Pilot, just very quickly, but yeah, 5,000 feet is quite an unusual cruising altitude for an Airbus 320. I understand you wanted to see the scenery though, looks great.
Alpine 497 Yankee, sir, continue climb, flight level 340.
Thank you, we'll continue climb now, flight level 340, Alpine 497 Yankee.
Control Easy42, flight level 330.
Okay, so has fly-by-wire implemented top of descent yet? No, but they have implemented a top of descent calculator here on the flypad. Uma, that is a custom wing view, yes. What else do we have? Hi Craig, good to see you.
Right now, 4212.
Lewis, why am I not using the usual 3/4 mate? That's because this is a real world flight that I'm doing tonight. So, using the real call signs.
Eurocontrol West, good evening, 335, flight level 310 inbound for Toulouse.
Garbo, is the initial descent on the navigation added on the 320X, or do you have to calculate it? No, you still have to calculate it, but I'll go through that in a moment. We'll be able to do that. Will the electronic flight bag be able to accept a waypoint in the flight plan for descent calculations soon? Well, at the moment it does something very similar. In fact, you know what, let me bring that up. So if we have a look at this, go to the performance page, you can link the current altitude. In fact, what am I talking about? Yes, it will. Look, distance. Now, unfortunately, that is distance from your next waypoint. So it would be 6.3, 6.2, 6.1 as you can see there, which is no good to us. So in terms of using a waypoint, I'm not actually sure just yet. It's probably something they will want to, they will work on, I'm sure of that.
Flight level 280.
Mark, how accurate is the cockpit on the simulator? Oh, very accurate. Very, very accurate. It has everything that the real aircraft does. Apart from real life cabin crew. Okay, so we're now at our cruising altitude.
And the last call time, the Easyjet takeoff on Monday.
Seabird 402.
As the cabin crew make their way around the aircraft, please make sure they are clear of your headsets. Allow your mate to sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the flight. Thank you.
Euroquest Control, Easyjet at flight level 310, coming to flight level 340.
Serve a selection of alcoholic drinks, including wine and locally sourced ales. Please make sure your tray table is in the down position and clear any items from the aisle. This is a paid-for service, so please consider tipping the cabin crew and the channel using stickers or super chats. Thank you.
Conceal climb 360, speed.
Alright, so we're now at our cruising altitude.
So could you repeat the message for Easyjet
We just need to go through a couple of checks. So engine page, bleed page, pressure page, electrics page, which is still bugged, unfortunately. Fuel page looks good, APU, obviously not running. Decent temperature in the cabin. And all the doors obviously armed. Wheel temperatures are fine. Flight control and flight control computers all operational. We're good. Okay, so let's see how the progress of the flight is doing. So we're about 30 miles from Foucault. We should be there in 4 minutes time. We've been flying for nearly 18 minutes. So we should be there in, according to the flight plan, we should be there 22 minutes into the flight. We'll be there in about 4 minutes. That's absolutely spot on. Minimum fuel remaining is 3.2 tons, and we've got 4 tons on board. So happy with the progress of the flight. So let's have a look at some en route weathers, just in case anything happens. Although, to be fair, looking outside the aircraft, every airport in France is looking beautiful this evening. Cloudless skies.
Euro Control West, Tomjet 1495 with you at flight level 340, ascending 350.
So, ATSU, AOC menu. This air traffic controller's voice is very, very quiet. So, if I suddenly stop talking because he's speaking, I'm just checking he's not trying to talk to me. So, let me just have a look on route weathers. So we'll obviously have a look for Orly and Charles de Gaulle, although realistically they're very close to each other, so I would imagine the weather is very similar. So Lima Fox. In fact, we'll go with we'll put Paris Saint-Germain in, Charles de Gaulle in, which is Lima Fox, Papa Golf. And we can also have a look. Just having a look, see what else we can, if we need to. We're going to put Nance on there, Lima Fox Romeo Sierra.
2605, Euro Control, speed road 464 with you. We're climbing 327, flight level 340.
Send that off. That company message shall come through shortly.
464, right to that, sir. Welcome and identified.
Stevie G, so if I was on my way home on holiday, sat in the real A320 and a call comes over the intercom and says anyone on board who can fly a plane, I wouldn't be confident in the other passengers' responses. That's the greatest way to upset a cabin. How confident would I be? Confident enough to step forward and land the airplane using the autopilot, because I know how to use the autopilot. I don't think I'd trust myself to touch down completely. It's been a long time since I've been in a real simulator of these things. So
thank you for that, 1495.
I'd program it for the full auto land, and then I'd just do the easy bit and stop the aircraft.
Like a 3 contact now, Lille approach at 119.1 today.
Contact has been approached 119.1. Like a...
So let's check those weathers that have now come through. Okay, so let's have a look. There is 4.6 kilometers visibility.
0607, speed about 464.
There's mist, no significant clouds. However, okay, so misty and overcast at 200 feet. So it's becoming misty and overcast at 200 feet with lower visibility on an RNAV approach. Let's see, shall we? Let's hope all is well when we get there. Alright, so should we start having a look at this approach then? This is one of the reasons that I wanted to try this new setup, so I could get the charts in. So the Sultex 5 Charlie arrival, or the Sultex 5 Charlie arrival. Let's bring these charts up.
Euro Control, hello, Speedbird 460 Mike, flight level 410, NM.
So it's an RNAV approach to runway 8, the RNAV Zulu approach.
Thank you.
I'll also put the ground charts on as well. Alright, so let's have a look at what we're expecting for this arrival. So that actually looks pretty much exactly as we remember it from the from when we were checking it on the ground. Let me just try something. So if I just go to the plan, take airports off the EFIS and scroll down here, just to zoom in a little bit. Okay, so there's the navigation display and ERNOD, which we've just seen. So from Sultex, which is the start of the let me just close this a minute, shorten that down. So we come in at Sultex, which is the start of the approach, the Sultex 5 Charlie arrival. At ERNOD we want to be a maximum 220 knots and above 3,000 feet. Now that's quite important. As you can see here, we've got 3,000 written on the navigation display. However, if I go down here at Eric, it says 3,000. What I could do with being able to do is actually going in there and coding that to make sure it is plus 3,000. Unfortunately, I can't go in and edit that, so that is a simulator problem. The next waypoint that we've got, zoom in a little bit more, the next waypoint we've got is this Fox Quebec 08 Zulu. And if we just bring up the charts here, so there's ERNOD, there's ERNOD. Let's have a look at the RNAV approach, and that actually matches up quite nicely. So there's ERNOD, we want to be at 3,000 feet by ERNOD. Then at Eric, which is the initial approach fix, we want to be 3,000 feet still, maximum 200 knots, and then here we've got Fox Quebec 08 Zulu, Fox Quebec 08 Zulu, so that matches up nicely. Now the interesting thing for the RNAV approach will be what happens down here. So I'm actually expecting this RNAV may just work. They don't all work in the flight simulator because of the way these constraints are coded. They're not always accurate. However, the start of the descent, a nice 3-degree glide path angle, should be here at this waypoint. So as long as we are at 3,000 feet, if we hit the approach mode just before arriving here, then we should descend automatically on a 3-degree glide path. If it doesn't work and we don't capture the final approach, we could use the FBA and set the aircraft to descend at a 3-degree angle.
Easyjet 156 descends 250.
We can also then match up with these distances. So
Easyjet 156.
we want to be, for example, at 2.6 miles out, we want to be 1,035 feet. So in theory that looks nice and straightforward, doesn't it? We've then got the missed approach briefing up here. So missed approach altitude is 5,000 feet. So Nick, are you happy with that? Oh, Nick and his RNAVs, he hates them. But I think you'd probably find the Nick a lot easier if the simulator actually did exactly as we wanted them to. Louis, yeah, the Flyby team have now added custom wing views, you're quite right. At the moment, however, I am still using my own.
4, 2, 1, 2, Victor St. Ethan.
Alright, that's 4, 2, 1, 2, right to that, getting the 7 out to fly over 240.
Yeah, Nick, looks simple, that one.
Descending flight level 240, report passing 250, Ryanair 4212.
Nick, were you with us when we flew into St. Martin on that RNAV? I can't remember if that was you or not. The Rapper, good evening. Great to have you on board. So now you've all got your glasses of wine. Snacks and a little bit of a dinner menu, I think, coming up now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to serve our dinner menu. Please make sure your tray table is in the down position and clear any items from the aisle. If you would like to upgrade your meal to the premium package, please pay the cabin crew using stickers or super chats to help support the channel. Thank you.
Oh, Nick, you weren't with us, but you saw the crash.
Air Control West, just sent to the contact me, that we're ready with you. We're Alpine 7658.
7658, right to that, you can proceed in fact, direct inbox.
Lewis, they need to explain when going down on takeoff. I don't think I've ever had the plane go down on takeoff on me. Thankfully.
Air Control West, Beaver 358, ready for command.
Beaver 358, right to that, get the 7 out to fly over 240, report time to fly over 250.
Steve G, after that night landing at Bilbao, this should be a piece of cake. Well, quite, yes. The only difference is, of course, that was actually an ILS. This is not. This would not guide the aircraft all the way down to the ground. Chris, hi, Easyjetsim. Doing all these long medium haul flights, no crash to desktops. I'm very lucky. Well, I do consider myself lucky, that is very true. But the only crash to desktops I've had have been my own fault, really. Messing around with peripherals, sticking USB cables in, and also ringing an update with the community folder still full, and then forgetting about it. Right, Lewis, I think I know what you're doing. How soon after takeoff do you turn on the autopilot? This is a sim bug as well, so it's not entirely your fault. But I'd be curious to know when you turn on the autopilot after departure. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work out when we need to start descending. So we want to be, as I said, we want to be at 3,000 feet at Ekrik. So let's work out how to do that.
Arrival 119.4, bye-bye.
Lewis, as soon as you reach 4,000, do you know what, Lewis? It's difficult to tell what's happening exactly without any screenshots or anything. So if you're on our Discord, it'd be great if you could send us a few screenshots. And what would be neat to see is the PFD, the Primary Flight Director. Primary Flight Display, rather. Alright, so let's work out what's happening in terms of our descent. So let's sync up our current altitude. We want 3,000 feet. And I'm going to start our descent about 1,500 miles away. Sorry, we want a descent rate of about 1,500 feet. In fact, we can probably descend a little bit quicker than that, so let's call it 1,700. And then I just want to change this to 3,000 feet on here, because what I would like to do is change our ground speed to about 400 knots. So there we go. I want to start our descent about 122 miles away from Ekrik to be at 3,000 feet at that point. To be fair, actually, I need to slow down as well. So I'm going to go 132 miles away, and then I shall be happy. Louis, I'll send you the Discord link. Oh, Dark Fury's just done it for me. Thank you, Dark. I appreciate that. So the Discord link will be coming up, and of course this is for anyone that wants any help. Then there's a great community on there looking to help you guys out. Generic Gamer, which version of the 320 is this? So this is the experimental custom fly-by-wire build version. Now, I have not actually updated this for about 48 hours, and I'm really glad I haven't, because I do know that they are having some issues with freezing displays, aren't they, at the moment? So I'm glad I've not. I normally always update, but they're having some issues. They've updated the dev build, they've done something to it, and they've broke a bit of it. So there's a team of testers trying to work out what have they done. Flight Simmer, good evening. So everything working rather nicely. I'm just going to zoom out on here, and you can see we want to already now start prepping for our descent. We're only about 200 miles away. So I'm going to go and get the latest weather just here. Get a weather request and see what we can expect when we come into land. So those speed restrictions as well we'll need to adhere to when we get there. So we've got a speed restriction, remember, at Ernod, which is the initial approach fix, of 220 knots. And then when we get to Ekrik, it's 200 knots. And that's at that point then we start praying that the RNAV approach works. Chris, it all depends when you downloaded it, mate. If you downloaded it over 48 hours ago, you'll be absolutely fine. Oh, Chris, and that's really good news as well, that you're only using the actual mods that you need at any one time, and I find it works. I don't see the point in having absolutely everything in the community folder. Richard, that's interesting. So the flight display froze on the approach, but then came back to normal. I've heard reports of it freezing and then coming back. So yeah. Right, okay. Didn't hear a call there to change frequency, but we shall change frequency to 125.5. That controller's voice was very low. Just check that, 125.5, which is breast control. Control Alpine 497 Yankee, flight level 340.
Alpine 497 Yankee, bonsoir. Proceed direct to ARSAF.
Proceed direct to ASFAF, Alpine 497 Yankee.
Ryanair A Juliet taxi.
So,
Ryanair A Juliet taxi.
get that direct in.
Runway 03, call back ready for departure, and squawk 5641.
Cuts a little bit of time out, reduces our track miles as well. We're all for that, saves fuel.
5641, and we will taxi 100.03, will call ready for departure, Ryanair A Juliet. Wonderful.
So as that is now 120 miles away, we can actually tell that really does help us with planning our top of descent. As I say, we want to start descending 122 miles away from Ekrik.
Easyjet, talking about 340.
Easyjet all bonsoir, identified. Easy 18 Juliet Papa, contact France control 128.3, bye-bye.
128.3, Easy 18 Juliet Papa, bye.
Navigator 9814, contact France control 128.3, over.
128.3, au revoir, Navigator 9814.
Qatari 24 Charlie, say max number.
We have 0.872 at the moment, sir.
Thank you, 24 Charlie, reduce speed max decimal 75.
75 for the Qatari 2 for Charlie.
Easyjet 203, request direct from cockpit for 5 minutes.
That's approved, I'm way back.
Alright, so let's have a look at those weathers now. That should have all come through. We can start prepping the performance page for that. Got the weather request. Print that off.
75 is below the stall speed, so we can offer you 76, sir.
Call you back, 24 Charlie.
RB26 does everything. I'm glad we've converted you to the A320. Okay, so weather is getting worse as it's dropping cold. Visibility is decreasing. Let's see if we can get in there before anything drastic happens. QNH is 1039. 1039.
Climb flight level 410, stage 466.
Qatari 24 Charlie, what is the best you can do?
Temperature
Yes, like we offered,
plus 4.
0.763 is the best we can do.
Wind 020 at 10.
Okay for decimal 76 for Charlie.
Sir, we will
Stevie G, I wish it was a winning one.
0.76 max for Qatari 2.
Transition altitude we can get from the charts is 5,000 feet.
Lufthansa 12, bonsoir, climb flight level 330.
And
Ryanair 8 Juliet, standby, call you back.
our minimum descent
Qatari 24 Charlie, contact France 128.3, over.
Arms control 128.3.
is also shown here, 1035. Sorry, ignore that. Minimum descent altitude is not there. Minimum descent altitude is just here, 456.
Amjet 1495 on the frequency.
Yeah, what that was showing is at 2.6 miles we should be at an altitude of 1035.
Ryanair 8 Juliet, line up runway 03, clear takeoff, window 050.
456 in the box just there.
03 line up, and we're clear to takeoff. Ryanair 8 Juliet.
Pete, you're on the Arnava nice and early, are you? And it's working. That is great to hear. That is music to Nick's ears. Jadhav, which notepad are you talking about? Sorry. So let's just review a couple of other things here. So minimum safe altitude is well, it's 2,000 feet as you can see as we approach it, but that increases to 2,700 feet whilst we're on the approach, so we need to be aware of that.
Good evening, Control 0464 with you, flight level 340.
Pivot 464, Bond, flight and
We can also put in the Lima Echo Quebec VOR in there as well. So let's just go to the RadNav page.
Pivot 203, back with you. Yeah, thank you.
And
5672, flight level
it's not actually to be used as any part of this approach. So none of these distances are from that particular VOR. It's just we would need it in case we had to do any sort of missed approach. So as you can see here, we would climb direct to this waypoint here. Now sadly, the missed approach track is not yet coded into Microsoft Flight Simulator, so we would have to fly raw data, which basically means using things like VORs, or we could just request vectors from air traffic control if they were online. But the missed approach altitude is 2,000 feet. What is important here is we need to climb to 2,000 feet prior to level acceleration. So a soft go around may be in order if we had to go around. Alright, so missed approach altitude is 5,000 feet, and it actually doesn't use any waypoints of any description that we would be able to use in the simulator like VORs. So we would have to just almost fly this using raw data and by hand, and essentially make a good guess of it.
Pivot 466, proceed direct to Bader.
Okay, so let's see how we're progressing.
Pivot 466 for breath control.
There's the full moon coming up, and if you look actually down below, it has got a little bit hazy, hasn't it?
Pivot 466.
So we're not too far away from our top of descent now, so I'm going to start warning the passengers, and then if we haven't got descent from ATC, we're going to ask them to can give us one.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking again from the flight deck. Pivot 79 Bravo, contact France 128.3, bye-bye.
France 128.3, don't worry.
Thank you very much. I'll have an update for you shortly.
Nice lovely sunset approach this evening. We won't be approaching into the sun, so that's one thing. Gary, is that true? It's happened before, hasn't it?
1495, radio check please.
Even here in the UK, woke up one morning and found yellow sand all over the cars.
Easy854, please say back number.
Mach 178.
Easy854, thank you. Reduce speed Mach decimal 77.
Okay, so I'm going to see if we can start requesting our descent now.
This week, Mach decimal 77. Easyjet
And Easy854, proceed direct to Arsas.
Direct to Arsas, Easyjet
Alpine 497 Yankee, is it possible to begin our descent, please?
Like Tomjet 1495, please say Mach number.
Mach number is 0.79, 1495.
Thank you, Tomjet 1495, reduce speed Mach decimal 77.
Reduce speed to decimal 77, 1495.
Press enter, front 6987, good day. Front 6987, bonsoir, spoke 5645.
So what we can do is we're going to change our descent rate if need to.
8 Juliet identified, climb flight level 180.
180, Ryanair 8 Juliet.
Centre Alpine 497 Yankee, request descent.
Alpine 497 Yankee, descent flight level 290 initially.
Flight level 290 Alpine 497 Yankee. Okay, so starting to go down.
Ryanair
Not very far, mind.
Direct to Alpha Romeo Echo, and you can climb now to flight level 380.
Alpha Romeo Echo 380, Ryanair Easyjet.
Okay, so flight level 290 and vertical speed of 1,700 feet per minute.
Direct to Colac.
Thrust idle.
Correct, from
Thomas, the ringtone noise that you get, that C major chord that you hear, it's basically a warning that you're approaching your selected altitude.
Descent from level 290, Easyjet for fun.
Weapon 456, you now live in my space. Military Unicom 1228 over.
I love the rusty coloured looking moon, that's quite nice, isn't it? But yeah, very hazy.
With you, climbing flight level 330.
Very hazy.
Swiss 308 kilo, bonsoir, climb flight level 350.
Climb up level 350, 15 kilo.
Okay,
Subject 14.
so weather and landing information has been received. We've coded in flight management guidance computer. Landing elevation of the airport is 156 feet.
Subject 1495.
We won't need the auto brake, or we shouldn't need the auto brake. Nice, decent length of runway. We've gone through our arrival briefing. We know that the RNAV approach 3,000 feet, maintain 3,000 feet, and then we activate the approach at Fox Quebec 08 Zulu. So just before this waypoint here.
7 Yankee, continue descent at your own discretion. You now live in my space. Unicom 1228. Bye bye.
Over to Unicom now. Thanks very much. Easy 497 Yankee. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Same for you.
Okay, so we can continue that descent all the way down now to 3,000 feet. So check 3,000 feet. And V speed minus 1,700 feet per minute. And we can now also set standard pressure. Well, local pressure, which is 1039.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
And the simulator has just stopped. Oh, that was one of those really worrying moments there where the sim paused for longer than I like it to. Heart in the mouth moment.
330, we'll be back.
So that is a really high pressure. I'm going to double check that 103 now, make sure that is correct. And we're going to change to 122.9. Oh, sorry, 122.8 for Unicom. There we go, so we're on Unicom now. And let's just double check that weather here in Lille. 1039, yeah, so that's really high, isn't it? Very important when doing an RNAV that you have the correct pressure set. Very, very important. If you don't, then all of these altitude readouts that you're getting are not correct, which will stuff up our nice approach. Naval Aviator, yeah, because I'm going down to altitude 3,000 feet and the transition altitude is 5,000 feet, you want to set the QNH at the same time as you've keyed in the altitude here, because you're descending below that that transition altitude. Doesn't seem to be quite as hazy just now. Yorkshire Pud, good evening. Why has the moon come down to Earth? Well, it was going to happen one day. The extra orange of the Easyjet livery being lit up by the evening sun. Can we see any other aircraft in our wake behind us? Normally as it starts to go dark, of course, you can see some of the strobe lights flashing much easier. Even HD is looking rather nice in that evening sun, sunning himself. Okay, passing flight level 250. Let's start getting some things ready then. So, we shall look to get the passengers in their seats. Christian, it'd be funny if you could put illuminating paint on the livery.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned on the seatbelt sign. Please fasten your seatbelts as soon as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, Stevie G, that's a great optical illusion, that, isn't it? When the sun's lower down to the earth, so you can see it framed by our horizon, trees and houses and things, the moon always looks bigger. Louis, this livery is exclusive to the channel and channel members, so that's the only way to get access to this livery. And a big thank you to Christian in the chat for providing that. So seatbelt signs are on, and obviously as it's getting darker now I can turn down the brightness of these displays, because otherwise you actually struggle to see some of the commands and things. So let's reduce our speed now to about 260 knots. And remembering, of course, that when we get to Ernard, which can we see on the navigation display? I think we can, yeah. So Ernard up here, we want to be doing 220 knots maximum. As it's now nav approach as well, we want to be configured a little bit earlier than we would with regards to an ILS landing. One of the other things I've noticed about the simulator as well, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, is there is no set time when all the lights start to come on the ground below you. Even if you're sat at an airport and it starts to go dark, all the lights come on sporadically. Not like the old flight simulators where you used to hit a certain point in time and bang, all the lights suddenly turned on. Waypoint eggnog. Close. Ernod. I've got an open mic on Unicom. Yeah, Sharon, I think we've established that, love.
Easyjet 854 requesting radio track.
Readability 5.
Thank you very much, Easyjet 854.
Greg, is Zurich busy tonight? They may have got an event on or something like that. I still won't fly into events at the moment, not without a hold function. I don't fancy doing manual holds for 20 minutes. Yeah, caught in a landslide. Okay, passing flight level 170. JetHub, so what is the hold function? Well, it's not programmed yet, it doesn't work yet, but what you can do is if you select a particular waypoint, so for example, if we look here, at Ernod there is a published hold, as you can see, flying anti-clockwise, and the hold is to fly 145 degrees, 325 degrees. Now obviously you can do that manually by holding for a minute flying each way at a speed of 220 knots, but what you should be able to do is into the flight plan, select Ernod. Oh, I can't even take you to the next page, it won't let me, but you should be able to select a waypoint, and then a hold function comes up and you can tell it to fly hold, and it will basically automatically draw and enter the hold for you here on the navigation display, but sadly it doesn't work just yet. Dark Fury, if your VPilot's getting connection errors, try changing over to a different server. Jenny, you're not doing the full song. Neither am I. It's about 7 minutes long. We'll be on the ground by the time we've finished. Okay, so let's just run the approach checklist. Our minimums are set, both sides. Engine mode select norm, and the electronic flight bag is stowed. So about to pass flight level 130. We'll get the landing lights on in a little while. Jeddies, so the runway that you have to land on is usually the runway flying into the wind, so it really doesn't matter from which direction you approach the airport. All aircraft land into the wind. It gives them the increased lift over the wings at slower altitudes, at slower speeds, sorry. And also, if it's really windy, also helps slow you down once you've touched down. RB26, I think VPilot does work on the FSX Steam Edition, yes. Okay, so once we've passed Sulux, we've got probably about 30 track miles to the initial approach fix. So we want to start slowing down. As I say, at Ernod we want to be 220 knots. So let's start reducing that now. Get the spoilers out so we can reduce our speed. Yeah, Jad, have your you're basically my dictator. Nick, oh yeah, on in the dark. It's going to be fun. Chances are you'll be able to see the lights a lot clearer though than you would in the daytime. So now below 10,000 feet, we're going to get our landing lights on. Nicola, good evening. You're just in for the RNAV approach. In the dark, in a simulator that doesn't like them. Should be fun. Lewis, check again, mate. Just basically look at Toulouse or look at Lille. It's already landed. It's not flying live now. It landed probably a couple of hours ago, to be fair. So JetHav, an RNAV approach is essentially an area navigation approach, which means it uses phantom waypoints and GPS to do the approach. It is not accurate enough to guide you all the way down to the runway, so we can't do that, but it will take you low enough to be able to make a visual. Lewis, always using our custom Easyjetsimpilot livery. Loving that moon. That looks great. So I'm going to reduce the speed now to 220 knots. Start getting the cabin prepared for arrival. Ah, Christo, it's magic. Naval Aviator, I like that. The RNAV is a spooky ILS. Sadly, it doesn't have quite the same degree of accuracy. One of the things you do need to check though, however, if you're performing an RNAV approach, is if you come down here, check the progress, you have to make sure that your accuracy is high. If it wasn't high, we would not be able to perform an RNAV approach. Lewis, I'm not sure if it was that one. You'd have to check the call sign, and I'm afraid the call sign was Alpine 497 Yankee. The red lights, Nicola, they're all wind turbines.
Make sure you are seated with your belts fastened and your trays in the upright position.
I think the flight simulator over eggs those a little bit as well, like it does icing.
All electronic devices until after landing. Thank you.
So we actually, our rate of descent there was perhaps a little over the top. Not too much. We want to lose about 1,300 feet in the next 20 miles and be slowed down. Lille traffic, Alpine 497 Yankee, starting the approach to Lille runway 08 on the Sulex 5 Charlie. Arrival just passing Sulex. Okay, so if you remember me saying that because it is a non-nav arrival, we will want to be configured slightly earlier than normal. Jimmy, is the voice not working on vPilot? Is that for everybody? Oh, actually, I'm just looking at my vPilot. It did disconnect, but it has reconnected again. So hopefully that's now working again.
Speedbird 464, radio check.
Speedbird 464, your radio is readability 4.
Roger that, we're back.
I would imagine his radio is absolutely fine, it's probably just a little bit too far away from me. MFS pilot, yeah, well I've now just changed the way I stream and I've actually got charts I can bring in and out here, which is quite nice. So hopefully you guys can see what we're doing. So one last thing we need to check is once we've landed, we'll be taxiing off to the left. Hopefully on Tango 3. If we've missed that for whatever reason, it's roll right to the end before the displace threshold, and then it's Tango 2. Sir Gosh, good evening. Nicola, can you enter the RNAV value in the FMGC in the sim? The RNAV value, go on, give us a clue. Or are you talking about the actual, the final waypoint fix? In which case, no you can't. So we have to wait until we're basically headed towards the last fix and check our distances on the navigation display. I think that's what you were getting at. If not, apologies. Okay, so we're 10 miles from Ernard, which is fine. We're now at 3,000 feet. We can enter the approach phase and start to slow down because we need to be 220 knots, and then we'll start to configure. So we're already actually in the approach phase. We passed the decel point, so let's go into manage mode on the speed. Engines will start to roll back. So speed. Final check of that Q&H before we start the RNAV approach.
Traffic Easyjet for 4 inbound approach RNAV runway 0.
1039 is correct.
Via Ernard.
So remember the plan is to be 3,000 feet, so we maintain 3,000 feet, and just before, about half a mile away from Fox Quebec 0 Bravo Zulu, we then arm the approach, and it should then go final approach on the FMA up here. If it doesn't, then we can quickly look at starting a manual descent using track FBA at a 3-degree angle. We should see some runway. In fact, I think I can actually see the runway lights just over there. If you guys can see that.
Tomjet 1495, radio check.
Tomjet 1959, 505.
Thank you.
A little bit of crosswind there, 27, 28 knots from the right. So I'm going to get the cabin secured for landing now. So we're now direct to a creek. And a gross check, when we are about 2.5 miles away, we want to be at about 1,000 feet. And again, that's something we can find on the charts just here. So that's where we start the descent at this waypoint. And at 2.6 miles from the runway, we want to be at, well, 1,035 feet, 2.6, so about 2.5 miles, about 1,000 feet. Oh yeah, Nicola, so down here you mean? No, no you can't, unfortunately. Okay, so let's go flaps 1. And because we get this little balloon as well, this should also give us a chance to sort that back out, because you can see we're starting to climb. And there's the alarm telling us we're veering off our required altitude. So we're about to make that right hand turn in a moment. Stevie G, not true. If we're at 0 feet, then I've hit the ground with some force. We should be at 156 feet. If I'm at 0 feet, then I've hit the ground hard enough to make a crater 156 feet deep. Okay, so we're just watching this now at 4 miles as we're now turning onto that final approach track. However, if we have a look in front of us, we can now see the runway. Oh, and the moon straight ahead. How nice is that? Beautiful planning. So we'll see how this line-nav approach works. So now I'm going to go flap 2. And really start to slow that aircraft down. Oh, Stevie, radio altimeter. Oh, I'll let you off then. I thought you meant barometric pressure. So, radio altimeter should be alive in a moment once we've started this descent. Lille traffic Alpine 497 Yankee is on files for runway 08. Okay, so we've now hit the approach mode. We've got final approach nav blue, and once passing here, we now see that that's changed to runway 08, 9 miles out. I'm looking for final approach to appear up here. A little bit of wind at the moment as well. Is that going to work? Oh, well, something's happening. It is starting the descent. It's turned final blue rather than final approach green, and it's also put us into an open climb, though quite clearly we are not climbing, we are descending at actually about 700 feet per minute. That seems absolutely fine to me. Now we should set the missed approach altitude, which is 5,000 feet. Let me cancel that one. 5,000 feet. Just because this is bugged, I am not going to alter this, because I don't want the aircraft to start to climb. So I'm just going to say that I know that the missed approach is 5,000 feet. Radio altimeter is alive. We've got 7 miles to run. And you're right, Lewis, it is a little bit windy, as you can see. So that RNAV, apart from the FMA announcements up here, which are incorrect, is actually working quite nice. Minimum set altitude 456. I want the autopilot off by then, ideally. Can turn it off before, as we're good visual on the approach. 6 miles out then. Let's get the landing gear down. Runway turn off lights, taxi lights on. Ground spoilers are armed. Auto brake not required. Flaps 3. And flaps full. Red's rolling now, yeah, exactly. At least it's a direct headwind. Lewis, I have the air traffic control in the simulator turned off. Yes, that's right. Can't stand it. Okay, so landing checklist. Cabin is secured for landing. Auto thrust should say speed. So this is just bugged for the RNAV. Go around altitude is not set, again because of the bug here. I don't want to mess with it, but it is 5,000 feet. Ecam memo landing, no blue. Lille traffic, Alpine 497 Yankee, runway 08 right, and 3 miles to run. I think there is an option in the settings, isn't there, to turn it off? If not, just switch ATC frequency and ignore them. That's what I do. So, gosh, no, this is not ILS. This is RNAV. And just quite lucky that this approach is bringing us on with the moon. How nice. Okay, 1,000 feet. Autopilot 1 coming off. I have control. Hopefully that wind should slow. I believe it was about a 10 knot headwind anyway. It may even move around a little bit from the left, so blowing us over to the right if I remember correctly. So now just using the PAPIs to help guide us in. Let's hope they're working correctly. 500, approach stable. Trying to bring that centre line back in. Because that wind, as I just said, as expected, is now just coming around a little bit. Oh, a little bit of turbulence there, dipping us down. Reverse is on. Reverse green. Don't know about you, but that sounded to me a lot more brutal than it looked on the sound of the landing gear.
Thunder 4095 is on short final for runway 08.
Is there a taxiway just there? I believe there is.
Tomtet, you're behind me. Could you start to your minimum approach speed if you prefer?
Let's get off the active runway, shall we? This looks like a very narrow taxiway. Wheel traffic, runway 08 vacated.
Please remain seated until the aircraft arrives at the gate. You are reminded to keep all electronic devices switched off until you have entered the airport terminal. Thank you for flying with Easyjet.
Let's just quickly configure and tidy the aircraft out.
Traffic, still got 464, we're overhead, nod.
Yeah, I can promise you that sound of the landing sounded far more brutal than the descent actually was. APU coming on, and let's just bring the parking stands in. So, where are we on? Victor 2? Basically straight ahead, park at the terminal. Not quite sure why there isn't a taxi line straight in front. Touchdown rate there according to self-loading cargo was 243. Not the best, but not the worst.
Please slow down. You're right behind me. You're gonna crash into me. Easy 54.
Easy 854, you are above me and slowing down. I am operational at 135. I cannot see you in front of me.
Yes, you just crashed into me. Easy 54.
Oh dear. Well, we'll let them argue that out on VATSIM. Right, get those off. Okay, so APU is running. Let's shut down those engines. Let's clear the logbook. There we go. And engines are now below 10% N1. Let's get the rotating beacon light off. Let's let the passengers out their seats. And we can call our we can call our jetway over. Let the passengers deboard. Let's have a quick look outside, shall we? What can we see? Our two aircraft mating in the sky. Oh, wow. Well, I think if there was an air traffic controller online, he'd be fired. Never mind. That's the problem when you've got people flying on VATSIM with no air traffic control. Okay, where's this jetway? Come on, my passengers are thirsty and hungry. I want to get to their hotel for the night. There we go. Okay guys, so if you are out of here, please do me a favour, hit the like button on the stream and also consider subscribing to the channel for notifications of more tutorials and flights that we do. Naval Aviator, you are very, very welcome. Let's get those doors open. Main door is open, jetway is there. Passengers are now debarking. Thank you, Nicola, for dropping in. Always good to see you. And our aircraft, let's just turn that dome light on. There we go. External power is available. Let's get the external power connected. Let's power down the APU. Alright then, guys. And there we are. Another safe flight into Lille. Thank you to everybody who has watched the flight tonight. Thank you to everyone who subscribes and of course donates to the channel either via stickers or super chats, and to those of you that are becoming members of the Easyjetsimpilot channel as well, big thank you to you guys. Check that out and see what perks are available if you haven't done so already. We'll be back tomorrow night with another live stream, so be sure to turn on the notifications bell and subscribe to the channel for that. I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck once again, I hope you enjoyed your flight with us today. On behalf of myself, Gavin, the first officer, the cabin crew, and everybody else in the chat room, we wish you a safe, pleasant journey from the airport, and we hope to see you again soon with the Easyjet Sim Pilot. Thank you for flying with us today, and we look forward to seeing you again.